Fellas, folks, ladies, gentlemen, germs, ladies, children of all ages, we are gathered here today to talk about cinema, to talk about film, to talk about a masterpiece, and that is, of course, Sinners, which is the new written and directed by Ryan Coogler film. It is set in the 1930s of Missouri, where twin brothers return to their hometown to start a nightclub, but music isn't the only thing that goes bump in the night. I wrote that myself, thought it was pretty clever. Comment below and tell me it's not. But we are here to talk about, first off, the best movie I've seen this year. It's not even close. It's this one by a country mile at this point. I've liked other movies I haven't talked about on this channel, like Companion, which is now streaming on Mac, so go see that. Not a plug. Go watch Mickey 17, which I did talk about on the channel. Talked about Warfare last week, but that'd be a hard movie to recommend just because it's so aggressive, and we'll talk about aggressiveness when it comes to this movie. But it's been a very weird year so far for movies of 2025. So far, this is the best movie of the year, and by the end of the year, I'm assuming it's going to be in a lot of people's top 5 and top 10 lists. Mine, I'm assuming it is. But let's talk about the movie itself. It's many things, but the most important thing that it is it's original, and it's a genre film that is being released into theaters by a auteur who not only wrote it but directed it, and then he has dipped his toe into franchise filmmaking with the Creed franchise, parodying off the Rocky franchise, being a sequel, prequel. And on this channel, I will eventually talk about my love for not only the Rocky franchise, but especially the first Creed movie, which I think is a perfect film. I think it's a masterpiece. I think it might be the best Rocky movie. That is just my opinion, and I'll talk about the Rocky franchise, like I said, in the future. But then he being Ryan Coogler, also did the Black Panther film. So he has not only dipped his toe in franchises before, he's dipped his toe in IP and genre, and then he went out and used the basically blank check that he got from those movies to make his own original genre film, which just so happens to be a vampire film. The vampires in this movie elicit this type of almost sexual connotation, and it's not even the vampires themselves, it's the movie itself, which is a erotic thriller. And again, with how sanitized movies have been over the past couple years, I think of Twisters from last year right off the bat, where the two main romantic leads in that movie meet at the airport at the end, and instead of kissing, they kind of like side hug and then just walk off together, and you're just like, we've been in this weird, I would say, decade-long stale trance where it's just everybody is in love, but nobody expresses it in movies. Nobody is horny for another person. It's all just, what are we? Oh, we're just good friends and we love each other, but we're never going to show that to anyone. And it's so refreshing to have a movie where there's just, I mean, what, 10 sex scenes? Might be a lot now that I think about it. Maybe 5 sex scenes in this movie.
You want some?
There is a scene in this movie that if we gave Oscars to individual scenes, this would win it not only this year, but every year following until it was topped. And that is when Haley Steinfeld spits into Michael B. Jordan's mouth and he swallows it. And he's turned on by it. And you're sitting there in the theater like, whoa. I mean, this is, again, when you're in the 10 years of the two romantic leads in this movie shake hands, right? And then it jumps to one romantic lead spits in another romantic lead's mouth. I mean, again, if the movie wasn't a masterpiece before that, it certainly was after that.
You want some?
Michael B. Jordan, first off, to start, and we obviously just talked about Haley Steinfeld, which outside of the spitting is also very good, but that is definitely your highlight of the film. Josh Allen taking L's on and off the field because his soon-to-be wife spitting into another man's mouth in a summer blockbuster. I mean, it's a win if she does that at home, a loss if she doesn't. But it is let's talk about Michael B. Jordan. He plays twins who are obviously named Smoke and Stack, like I just said. They are gangsters from Chicago who have kind of returned to their hometown after it's hinted at that they stole a bunch of goods or maybe killed a bunch of people to get what they have, and now they're coming back to their hometown to open a nightclub and basically make money from the things they have, which is, beer from the I think it's beer from the Irish, wine from the Italians, and then they have a bunch of guns and stuff like that. So what's really interesting about this movie is it's almost split down the middle from what kind of movie it is. The first half of the movie is just this story of these two brothers coming back into town, trying to get almost, it feels like the old band back together where they're recruiting their friends, the love interest are returning here and there. They bring in the Chow family, which is these Asian or Chinese, I'm sorry, I don't know which one, shop keepers who like basically help them put the club together. They make the signs, they supply the food, and then it's like, well, now we have to go get our dates. Now we have to go get our friends. Now we have to go get the bouncer. Now we have to go get the musicians. And it's just this really kind of slow burn, methodical, like, we need this, but it's done in really interesting ways where you get to learn something about all of those characters. So obviously, when shit hits the fan, you care about them because of the things you saw in the first half of the film. But then the second the party starts, it then introduces the Remit character played by Jack O'Connell, who is absolutely fantastic. He is like a Irish immigrant that also does a fantastic Irish jig, like dance and scene in this movie that is mesmerizing and would have been the best musical scene in the movie if there was not a all-time classic musical scene in this movie that is like a teleportation through time and an appreciation of music and both a celebration of the past, present, and future of music that is, I mean, literally jaw dropping. I sat there in the theater with my mouth open, just a gasp at what I saw on the screen, which was next level filmmaking. Such a cool idea that I keep seeing people online be like, I know that scene's gonna be controversial. And I literally haven't seen one person say it was bad. And it's just nonstop people praising it for how cool and innovative it was. So that's an all timer right there. But back to Jack O'Connell, who plays Remrick. He plays this vampire that we're almost introduced just immediately we're thrown into he's being hunted by like Native American vampire hunters, which if this movie does get a sequel, how do you not focus on that aspect of the film that's briefly touched on for like 30 seconds and then never brought up again? That seems like a really cool, branch out from this story where every studio wants, IP films. Well, you got one right here now where it's an original genre film that leaves the door open to sequels and spin-offs and really cool ideas because when Jack O'Connell is introduced, he converts another couple into vampires and then it becomes this basically cabin in the woods movie, right? Where this nightclub is in the middle of the woods in Mississippi, and then all of a sudden, this Irish guy with these two, with this couple comes up and they're just like, "Oh, can you let us in?" And then it's just a slow reveal of like, this guy's a vampire. These are their rules. This is how we stop them. And I always love in movies where there's one character who knows what's going on and knows the rules. In this case, it was, I believe the Beatrice character who is just knows, she's like a voodoo priestess or something like that. She works with spells and potions and remedies, but it's almost like she's like a healer, but she knows, kind of like the dark arts of it all. And she's like, these are vampires. This is what they do. There's this great scene with a character named Cornbread, who shout out to, Omar Benson Miller, who plays, Cornbread, who's kind of like their dumb childhood friend who they just bring to be the bouncer. And there is this scene where he is basically, they're doing a test to see if he has turned. And it's like, vampires have to ask for permission to come into the house. So he asked them for permission. And then the friends are kind of just like, uh, you've been coming in and out of here all night. Like, why do you have to ask for permission? And it's this slow reveal for all the other characters, like, oh, what this woman is telling us about vampires is true because this is weird. And then obviously it escalates from there. But man, just great movie, great ramp up, great slow build. I also saw it in IMAX. So in certain scenes, like the big finale and like that musical number I was talking about, you see the screen widen and where it was shot in IMAX cameras. It just is such a nice touch because it kind of makes you sit up in your seat and go like, okay, shit's about to hit the fan. Like we're about to see something. And then it delivers. And also the standouts in this movie, I just mentioned the Jack O'Connell, but also Delroy Lindo plays Delta Slim, who is like this old time blues harmonica player who just steals every scene he's in. And it's so interesting to see like the first half of the movie where he's kind of just this, you know, seasoned veteran harmonica player who plays the blues and is just kind of, going through the motions. And then at the end of the movie, it's this guy who is now a vampire hunter, right? Like you just see the transition from who the characters are and then who the characters are when shit hits the fan. And it's fantastic. I mean, I can't recommend this movie highly enough. I'll put a spoiler warning at the beginning of this movie or at the beginning of this discussion just to make sure I don't spoil anything because don't run to the theater to see this. It's the best movie of the year. I'll say that a million times until it's, just beating a dead horse at this point. But Sinners, it's a damn near perfect film. There's a little bit of pacing issues, but again, you're so locked into the world that you don't care that some parts are dragging or it feels like it's a slow build because again, all of it pays off, all of it's worth it. And this is legitimately what studios should be doing. Instead of giving $300 million for a, you know, sloppy blockbuster on Netflix that nobody remembers 10 minutes after you watch it, give 50 to 100 million to just auteur writers and directors and be like, go make something cool. Put it in theaters, market the hell out of it, and then just be like, cross your fingers that people go. And people are saying, oh, well, it's risky. It's risky. It's less risky than spending $300 million dollars on a Snow White remake that bombs, right? Or spending $200 million, $250 million on a Minecraft movie and then crossing your fingers and hoping that, it becomes a meme, right? It's like now I feel like studios are like, oh, all our IP genre movies aren't working. And it's like we put all our money into that. Well, why are you now acting like that's a safe bet compared to the smaller films made by great writers and directors that actually have a chance to surprise? Because on a $50 million budget, this movie, who knows if it makes $250 million, all of a sudden you're in the profit compared to a Snow White movie that has to make what, almost $1 billion that you even crack even. So hopefully Sinners opens up the door for more of these type of movies, which is smaller budgeted big blockbusters, right? That are given the big blockbuster treatment with the release schedule and the marketing. And you just need one star in Michael B. Jordan. And then you can find great actors and actresses to surround him. And then you have the writer director and boom, it's that easy. I feel like it's not a hard formula to replicate. Obviously, you're not going to make as great of a movie as a Sinners, but you can make a movie like a Novocaine or like a Mickey 17 or like a Companion, where it's just these smaller movies that have really interesting premises, really cool premises, and then you market the hell out of them, release them in theaters, and then yeah, again, you're just crossing your fingers the same as you would with the big blockbusters, but it doesn't need to hit as hard. So Without a shadow of a doubt, Sinners, best movie you will see so far this year, without question. I don't think there's another movie that comes close.